And so something that we need to understand is that pride and people pleasing is just two different extremes of the very same spectrum. Those of us who struggle with pride, we tend to get a lot of our identity from achieving our goals, buying a new home, new car, doing something that makes us pleased with ourselves. But then those of us who tussle with people pleasing, we get a lot of inward or self-validation from other people liking what we do, making other people pleased, other people believing that we're a good person. And so the problem with both of these spiritual deficiencies is that instead of looking to God, we're either looking to ourselves or other people to give us our self-worth. Pride and people pleasing stems from low self-esteem. Pride is us trying to do things in order to cover up our low self-esteem, and people pleasing is us looking for other people to esteem us instead of God. It is not honorable to always be trying to help other people to the point where you never take the time to rest, because God tells us to rest. He expects us to rest. He rested. In the same way that pride makes us always be so selfishly ambitious to the point where we're always trying to achieve something, which is completely unhealthy because you're living a life to please and honor yourself instead of Him. The Bible instructs us not to live our lives trying to please other people nor ourselves. It says, do everything unto the glory of God. Even when we're trying to serve others, as He matures us and grows us, He begins to teach us that it's okay to say no. It's okay to be balanced and understanding some things wear us out. Some things are too much for us. Some things we are not spiritually gifted to do. We not God, so we don't have the capacity to do everything, help everyone, nor give ourselves purpose and worth. And sometimes in trying to press through that wall, we're not actually honoring God. We can actually be using our people pleasing and other people's validation to gain or build up ourselves in the same way that someone with pride is trying to use finishing this, accomplishing that to build up themselves. We just have to be careful. And so if you wrestle with pride, it's most likely going to be easy for you to tell someone no if you know that it's going to deplete you doing something for them, because ultimately you're not looking for anyone's validation except for your own. But in people pleasing, a lot of times we have a hard time telling others no because we're not doing what we're doing in order to honor God. We're doing for other people in order to gain their approval of us. We're trying to be validated by our actions instead of seeking His approval. The ultimate goal of this life is to please God in everything that we do. Like deep down, we truly have to understand that we don't have to esteem ourselves. The Bible tells us, God's word, God Himself tells us, don't try to esteem ourselves or else He will bring us low. But a lot of times within our low self-esteem, it translates into pride. It translates into people pleasing because we're constantly on this chase to try to fulfill ourselves in order to try to give ourselves worth and validation and purpose. And all of these things lead us away from God. We absolutely cannot do anything to build up ourselves in the same way that we should never look to others in order to build us up. If you're someone who wrestles with pride, yes, God does tell us to encourage ourselves in the Lord, because there is most definitely times in this walk where people let you down and you can't look to anyone but Him. But that does not mean to become self-seeking and look to please yourself and look to build up yourself. Be prideful. That means seek Him. Do things that force you into His presence. And if you struggle with people pleasing, God will absolutely send other people in our lives to encourage us. But ultimately, we have to be built up by His Spirit by spending time with Him, spending time around people who actually love Him and who challenge us. Not just people who tell us what we want to hear in order for us to feel validated. So what I want you to think about right now is, what side of the spectrum do you fall on? The better we understand what we personally struggle with, the better off we are in taking the necessary steps in order to seek God and ask Him to help us with this. And just please understand that all of us are wrestling, all of us are imperfect. And ultimately, we got to let God esteem us. No matter what you struggle with, all of us have to find our rest, our identity, everything in Jesus. We should never feel worn out by helping other people, or we might be wrestling with people pleasing. And we should never feel like failures because ultimately we don't control our own lives. God does. I love you from here to heaven.